Hi, it's Hugh Taylor coming to you again from my messy home office to present the first in what I hope will be a series of videos on public relations do's and don'ts. Now, the way I've set this up is my feeling is that for every do, there's a don't. So I'm going to give you 3 public relations do's and for each one a related don't. At least that's what I'm going to do in this video. Maybe in the next one we'll try something different. So the first one I have for today is number 1, do align your public relations with your business goals. Now, for some people, this is like incredibly obvious, but a lot of the time it's not. I've worked with hundreds of people on this sort of issue, and it's surprising how people misalign what they're doing. So I like to ask clients, what is your business goal? And most people say, I want to grow. Okay, we get that, but you want your business to grow. But how? How are you getting your business to grow? How are you getting customers, for example? That's often a good place to start. So a person might say, well, I get customers because they come to my store. I get customers because they come to my website. So your business goal, or maybe at least your marketing goal, is you want to get new business, new customers to your location or your website. Okay, so how are you doing that? How are you going to do? Some people do Google advertising, regular advertising, they do business networking. So public relations should be part of this process of achieving these goals in this way. So if your goal is, I want to get people to go to my website, then your public relations strategy, your public relations campaign, your spending should align with that goal, meaning it should get people to go to your website. Again, that may sound really obvious, but very often have conversations with people where they say, I want to get on TV or something, Okay, cool. Why? How does that align with your business goal? If someone sees you on TV, are they going to go to your website? And I'll tell you the answer there is almost always no. It's very unlikely, unless you're on some huge show, that someone's going to say like, oh, wow, that person's interested in going on TV. I better go to their website right now. It's much better if you can get yourself, into online media in that case, where there's a clickable link. See what I'm talking about? So the don't, therefore, is don't execute a PR plan that's irrelevant to your business goals. And that brings me to my second do. Number 2, do have a clear idea of what you want. There are a lot of different kinds of public relations strategies and tactics. There's a lot of ways you can get your business or yourself out in front of the media. It's really helpful to think through which one is right for you. Now, someone like me, whether you work with me or not, can help you think that through. For example, do you want local attention? If you run, a bakery in a small town, then, you want local news coverage that will remind people that you're there or tell people about something special happening, that they'll come to your store. If you're trying to raise your personal profile, then that's a public relations strategy. And this comes up a lot, actually. So, for example, there are people who run businesses who, either for their own personal reasons or because it's good for the business, they want to make themselves more famous. It's a very common public relations goal. And getting back to point number 1, it should align with your business goal. So if your business goal is get people to come to my website because they want to know about me, then let's make, me into the public relations star. So, for example, we can focus a press release on you personally versus the business. You can build a public profile that way. Or is your goal to be part of a national conversation? This happens in business. It also happens in nonprofits. So, for example, we just did a press release that had to do with domestic violence with an advocate. So the point of the press release was for the client to put her thoughts into the conversation. And it involved presenting her as a potential guest on radio and television or as a potential expert source to reporters who were doing stories on domestic violence. That's the idea. And now she had a reason for this. She wanted to sell her book. She wanted to get booked for speaking and that sort of thing. But the path to that was to be become part of a national conversation, or to become part of some conversation that's going on in the media. It doesn't have to be national. It could be very localized. And then the correlating don't to that is don't waste effort and money on the wrong strategy. And we see this again a lot where someone says, I want to be on television, maybe because that's what they have some need to be on television. They want to feel special or whatever, but it has nothing to do with their business goals, and it isn't the right strategy for them. And it may not even be a good strategy in general, because sometimes people get mixed up about why they should be in the media. And that brings me to my number three. Number three, do make yourself valuable to reporters. And this is something that is very poorly understood. And to be fair, why would people know about this if they haven't done public relations before? But it's really worth taking a minute to understand, what are reporters and television and radio producers actually doing? What is their job? Okay. And then what does it and does it not have to do with you? So if you think if you think about it like this, a reporter has a job which is to report the news or investigate stories that will enable the publication, the media outlet, the radio, television station, the podcast or whatever, to get a bigger audience and charge advertising or charge subscriptions, that sort of thing. That's their only job. Their job is to find interesting stories that will translate into an audience for the publication. And the more high level the publication, the more serious that job is. So if you're talking to like the New York Times or the Washington Post, they are only interested in serious news stories that are coming out. They're not interested in, a business that has something to say. Maybe this is the thing. Their work has nothing to do with you. In fact, if you really want to get into it, reporters are insulted by the idea that they are somehow there to speak for you. That is not how it works. If you want to really insult a newspaper reporter, call her a stenographer, someone who just takes notes from public relations people. They hate people like me. Can we be fair? Reporters hate people like me. I waste their time as far as they're concerned. I'm a waste of time. I interrupt their important journalistic work with stupid ideas from people they don't care about. Okay? So there's a challenge there. So you wonder, why would a reporter talk to someone like me? Okay? And it's not just because I'm so, good looking and charming. I have to find the fit between your story and their needs. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Reporters have needs. They need information. They need opinions. They need expert insight. They need interesting stories. That's where you come in. So, for example, we talked about domestic violence, and it's just a topic. It's a good example of a serious issue where there is an opportunity for public relations. So let's say a reporter is writing an article about a new law that's getting discussed in the legislature about domestic violence. Well, if they're writing that article, they might be looking for interesting stories about people who survived domestic violence and have something to say about it. There's the opportunity. So in that case, for example, I could find reporters who write about domestic violence, and I can send them an email that says, if you're doing a story on this topic, I have an interesting person for you to talk to. She's got a story to tell. Okay, and all of a sudden there's a fit. Because you're not saying, oh, I have a client, write about her. What I'm saying is, I have someone who can help you do your job better. That's what reporters like. Okay? It's not easy. This is why I sometimes tell people, I don't want to do the project. I don't want to take your money and waste everybody's time if I don't think I can get reporters interested in what you have to say. So the corresponding don't is, don't assume reporters will be interested in your story. Now, obviously, this varies based on the context. If you're the small town bakery, for example, and I contact the small town newspaper where you are, they might be quite interested in your business. That part of being a small town newspaper is covering local business. It's a different sort of fit. Now, if I call the Washington Post and try to get them interested in your small town bakery, they're not going to be interested unless it's part of a story they're doing. So for example, if they're writing a story about businesses in small towns, then all of a sudden there might be something to discuss. But that's a much harder thing to pull off. So those are the first 3 do's and don'ts of public relations. If you have questions, I would love to talk to you about it. We're available to you. I've written a book called Stop Being Invisible. It's a free ebook that goes into some of these issues more deeply. It contains examples of press releases. You can get a copy of it at the link below. We'd love to work with you and help you do public relations right. We're Comms Factory. Get in touch and we can talk.